What's going on, guys? Back out here at the wood pile. Did a little cutting yesterday, which you'll have probably already have seen the video. No, probably not, because it's going to be in my lineup. I'll probably post this pretty quick. Probably post this pretty quick. I'm gonna run the 372 Pro Husqvarna against the 372 kit saw that I had that I posted ported running against the 400C. There was a couple guys seemed to think that I guess this saw wasn't ported or whatever, and like I said in that video at the very beginning, this saw has had some work done. It's been modified. Is it the hottest build that guy, the builder, can do? No, it's not. I've ran tons of his other saws that he's built and actually done all the you know, base cutting and all that kind of crap. But what I'm getting at is he built what I specifically asked him to build me. I wanted something that was more powerful than the 372 X-Torque. At the time I didn't have the Pro, you know, so all I had was the X-Torque, and those things from the factory, they may be a reliable saw. I'm not doubting that, but they're turds from the factory. I think they are. The 372 X-Torque, I can't really speak for the OE because all I've got the Husqvarna Pro, and I don't know if it's as good as what Husqvarna puts out. But to me, it's a good saw. It cuts good, but compared to some of Stihl's models and that size or a little smaller weight range, they're turds. They don't cut as good. I mean, it just is what it is. They get choked down very easy, and that's what it is. Because like on the 372 X-Torque, you put a brand new chain out of the box on it, and all them videos where they was getting hung up and everybody's like, your rakers are low, rakers low, that's a factory chain right out of the box. And it gets hung up that bad. That's how hard the wood is here. You know, you see a lot of them West Coast guys and even other guys that's got ported saws, they'll take 2 or 3 swipes off the drags right out of the gate. If you're buying a quality chain like the Stihl, the Husqvarna is a quality chain even though it's cheaper, or even the Oregon EXL or LGX, on a 372 X-Torque, if you take a couple swipes off the drags, you're going to be getting bound up quite a bit. That's in my experience. Now you may have one that don't do that. Mine did. But what I'm getting at with that is this guy built this saw the way I asked him to and the money I wanted to spend. I didn't want to spend $300 or $400 on this $200 saw to get it ported. So he done what I asked him, and I didn't put that video up of this being ported, that 400 Stihl, to make him look bad or to make the Stihl look good. This saw has been modified some. It's not, you know, it's not the hottest build you're ever going to get. It's not as a hot build as my 395. But I also didn't spend the money on the kit saw port job that I did on the 395 port job. So there's different levels of port work, you know. To me, if you modify a saw in any fashion, if you go in there and do any kind of grinding, then you're doing some port work. Now, is there different levels? Yeah, you know, to me there is. And even like that Hot Saws 101, he has 2 or 3 different stages. He has the Insano SS, the Psycho, and the torque tweaks and all that kind of stuff. So there's different levels of porting and everything. And I get it, these guys that's porting saws on their own saws, they do the max. They build it as hot as they can get it to make it run, or to make it, you know, fast, to show their work or whatever. And I get that. I didn't want something that hot. I work with my saws. You know, I don't want to go out there and it have 450 pounds of compression and me strain my damn guts out trying to pull it over, and then every time I run it, I have to be messing with the carburetor to get it to run just right, you know, because when the more work you do to them, the more finicky they are. I wanted a stout saw that wouldn't get bound up every time that I laid on the dogs a little bit with a new chain. because that's what I say, like in my filing video, I leave my rakers on the high setting for the most part, unless it's a pretty stout saw, and that's higher than they come from the factory, or in the gauge I got it is. So, but anyway, not every ported saw has to be the hottest somebody can do. You get what I'm saying? That ain't what I wanted. So, not that I care, it doesn't matter to me. I don't build saws, I just run them. This saw, I've got multiple videos on it against my 372 X-Tor. I think I've even got it against the 372 Pro and some shorts a while back ago. And this saw, when I first got it back, it wasn't even broke in. I put a new chain on it, put the same bar and chain on it that I had on the 372 X-Tor, and this thing would out-torque it 10 to 1. So with that being said, that is just what it is. I mean, that's what I experienced. You may experience something different. It may have looked like this saw was bogging very easy on the video before, but I was pulling up on it like pretty hard. And to say that a ported saw don't bog, or you can't bog it, or it shouldn't bog like that, I'm just going to tell you, I've got that 395 in there, and it was built by a guy that's been doing it for 20 plus years, and probably built more saws than 5 or 6 of the newer porters that's on YouTube has built all put together. You know, so he does good work. His work's been out for years. Everybody I talked to that asked, you know, who poured it, they heard of him around this area. He's pretty close to my area. So, you know, but what I'm getting at is I can lean on it and I can bind it down if I want to, if you pull hard enough. And I don't have to even look like that I'm really pulling up that hard. I can stand here just like that, one-handed, and I can still bind it down. So it's all in how you run the saw and what you do, you know what I mean? I was leaning on that ported saw pretty hard because I could, and it was still pulling. Did I have it up in the RPM range that it was cutting the best? Maybe not. But that's why everybody gets so, you gotta watch, everybody gets so wound up. The size of the wood, the size of the saw, the RPM, all that plays in the factor, and I've said it a million times. I can take that 661 and I can take, you know, that 400, and in a 10-inch piece of wood, I can get that 400 to cut with that 661. Pretty close, or maybe even beat it. But now you get a 4-foot bar and get into something 4 foot long, you know, around, and that 661 is going to walk off and leave it eventually because it's going to out-torque it. So that's, you got to watch on watching videos on YouTube, because you can make any saw look good, or most people can make any saw look good within a couple of cookie cuts, and make any saw look bad within a couple of cookie cuts. It's just, that's just the way it is. Cookie cutting don't mean shit unless you're going to race saws or just trying to show your work or whatever. To me, it doesn't. What matters to me is how that saw is going to run when I get to the woods or to the house or to the job site that I'm cutting a tree or cutting timber for. How it runs and starts. I don't want to get out of the truck with a saw and be pulling on it 20 times and the customers think, golly, he ain't even got a saw that runs. You know what I mean? I want to get out, grab my saw, pull on that son of a bitch 3 times, and go to cutting wood, and not have to fart with a carburetor for 100 hours and shit like that. That's what matters. All this cookie cutting and shit, honestly, I like my ported 395. It's nice. I stumped with it yesterday. It does really good. You know, it's got power. You can lean on it pretty good. I paid $325 or $350 to have it ported, and it is a whole lot stouter. But honestly, that 661 ain't that far behind it. 1 or 2 seconds in something 30 inches or whatever, 3 or 4 seconds. What are you really gaining? You know, and when you port it, I mean, hell, you're going from an easy saw to start. You're building compression, it makes it harder to pull over. Anytime you get into something, tinker with it from the factory, it makes it more susceptible to having problems. I don't care what it is. I've had diesel trucks, gas trucks that I've hopped up and done shit to. Diesel trucks I put tuners on, bigger turbos and whatnot. And as soon as you start doing that, you start having, not right off the rip, but eventually you start having problems because they're not spec'd to run that way from the factory. So that's why I don't like, that's why personally me, I don't want a hot ass build, you know, like something that's, you see all these guys putting on there, and yeah, it is cool and they are fun to run. I have run saws like that. You know, when you're just standing around with 5 or 6 buddies bullshitting and cutting cookies or going to like Sawfest and racing and doing that kind of number, those saws are the saws to have. They're awesome to have. You know, they're nothing's like it. I like doing that kind of shit too. But when I'm going to work and make money, I could care less if my saw was ported or not. The bark box or a muffler mod and a filter is plenty good for me. So that's just what you got. So, you know, that being said, I ain't trying to cut on nobody's port work or anything, any comment that they said or nothing like that. I'm just trying to explain that you can lean on any saw, make it look good, make it look bad. Or I can, you know. And you could too if you wanted to. Is that the right way to run it? Probably not, you know. It ain't the best way to do things, but, you know, that's just what you get sometimes when you're doing this kind of deal. You know, that's what you have. So, in here. I'm gonna cut with them just because, you know, a couple guys wanted me to cut with it. I guess they think maybe that 372 Pro and this saw is the same. And I mean, it may cut the same, I don't know. But I do know that saw cuts better than my 372 X-Torque. I've got many videos on it back when I first started the channel. The first tree cutting job, I brought it out too, and I was cutting with it. You could lean on it a hell of a lot harder. So, you know, there has been work done to it, is what I'm saying. But, you know, it just is what it is. I'm not trying to argue with people or prove anything to anybody. The gentleman that built that saw for me, like I say, he done what I asked. He kept it in the price that I wanted to spend, and I'm happy with the saw, so that's all that matters. It's probably rougher looking than any saw I've got because I used it when I first got it back more than I did my Husqvarna saws. And I know I didn't have a lot of video footage on it. You can tell by the way it looks. I mean, the muffler's beat in, paint's wore off of it, you know, I used it. But every time I cut, I don't video. I cut just about every day. Not all day, but every evening, just about. I go cut somewhere or do something with saws or somewhere. And every weekend, at least one day of the weekend, I'm going to a tree job or going to cut. And some people, you know, say something about videoing and they ain't real crazy about it. So, you know, I just don't video it. Or if it's something I'm wanting to get done real fast, I don't take the time to set the camera up. Because believe it or not, it does take you a little longer to carry the camera around and do all that kind of stuff when you're cutting, you know, because you gotta set it up, you want to get good footage and all that, or there ain't no sense in doing it. So sometimes I don't show everything that I do as far as cutting. And, you know, am I the best tree cutter, timber faller, tree work guy, yard tree guy, whatever? No, I'm not. There's always going to be somebody better than me, but I can get it done and I can make money, and at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. And 90% of the people that I do tree work for, I go back and I don't do just one. you know, they're repeat customers. So, anywho, we're gonna cut now that I get done mouthing. You know, like I say, I ain't trying to be disrespectful to any saw builder out there, because I don't do it. And I know, and I have done a couple saws and they run better. Did I do base cuts and all that kind of shit? No, because I don't have the stuff to do it. Now, would I sell that saw as a ported saw? Yeah, I'd tell them it's ported, but I'd also tell them that, you know, it ain't the hottest build you're gonna get. So, I guess if you get all wound up about it, if a saw you see run that don't suit you, you know, maybe that's what that person asked for, or maybe them guys didn't charge, whoever's porting the saw didn't charge as much as what you charge for your really, really hot builds or whatever. Me, I think if you're porting saws and you're all wound up about it, maybe you need to level. Maybe all you porters need to get together and start doing levels of port work, like level 1, level 2, or stage 1, stage 2, kind of like they do in car engines, you know. Or just let your work speak for itself, and the people come to you, and you ain't got to worry about it, you know. If you charge a decent price and you're decent to deal with and you've got good business sense and not terrible to get along with or whatever, if they see your saw run really, really fast, faster than somebody else's saw, and that's what kind of build they want, then they'll call you. But you ain't got to get on every Facebook or every YouTube video or every other porter's page, or somebody that's running another ported saw, and try to downgrade them. You know, just let the work speak for itself. To me, if you're doing that, then, you know, either one, you ain't getting no business, or two, you're not as good as you think you are. One, and I'm not trying to be hateful, like I say, because that's like me. You know, I could get on other people's videos that's cutting trees and be like, well, golly, you done this wrong, you done that wrong, that looks terrible, you didn't do worth a shit, yada yada yada. But here's the deal, I don't do that because I don't care. If they can do it and they're happy with it, and whoever they're working for is happy with it, that's their business. I don't care what they charge, you know, that's up to them. But because, hell, I still make mistakes too. I've been cutting trees and wood for a long time, since I was a kid, you know, 12 or 13. And then, you know, I helped in the logwoods when I was 14, 15. I didn't do much cutting, I did a lot of cable dragging. But what I'm getting at is everybody still makes mistakes, and sometimes, you know, things don't work out like you think that they will. If I wasn't happy with that saw, I could have called him and said, hey man, this thing ain't running like I want it to, I'm not happy with it. He'd went back and he'd done whatever to make it right. The thing is, I told him I was happy with it, and I am happy with it, and it does run better than the 372X torque, and that's what I want. I don't know about the OE because I can't remember. It feels stouter to me, but, you know. So, enough of that, every guy. And I don't have a whole lot of big rounds left. It's the problem. It's a problem. It's cut, so I'm gonna try to do something fairly decent size of cut. I don't know how good it'll do and all that, but we'll see. I'll swap the bar out and I'll keep it all rolling the whole time and all that kind of shit. I'll help you turn it on. Maybe. flood it out. I hope it's got gas in it. I do. I'm gonna get the kit saw and tune it up. Oh, and I'm gonna go get a big red too, because I'm thirsty. Alright. I'm running the 372 X-Torque carb on that saw too, the kit saw. So I don't know if it'd be happier with another saw or not, or another carb or not, really. You know, big red, because that shit's good. Yeah. Oh yeah. So if, you know, if I had the Pro Carb or whatever, I wish you could order them and I'd try it, but you know, it may do a little better, but like I say, hell, I like it. It runs really, really good. I think it was turning like when I tacked it earlier. That's why I changed it, because I tuned it by ear the other day and it was turning like 14.5 or something like that. RPM, maybe a little more. And that's why I went back down, or messed with that carb adjustment just a little to see if it made a difference. But it was happy. It's happier right about 14.5 or so. It may do more than that, but I don't want to lean it out too much. Because when I was running it before at a turn and a half, when I first got it back, I kind of was running it fat, so you know I didn't want to lock it up or anything. But the plug was extremely black, dark from hell, no wonder I ain't getting no oil. Full of shit. Yeah, it's got a plenty big enough oil hole for sure. But yeah, so I really like these Forster bars. This thing has been a really good bar, honestly. It has. They're cheap and they're fairly light for what they are, you know, to be a solid bar. And I've used this thing quite a bit and not had any trouble. And they're, like I say, the price point on them is really, really good. Now, I don't like Forster chain that well out of the box. I believe they leave a lot on the table there. And hell, I don't know, I might have an 8-pin stuck on that 372X or kit saw. I do so much messing around and playing, I can't remember. Well, like I say, most of this is all just in fun. I'm just trying to show what that 400 does. I mean, it's a really good saw, and this kit saw is too. Like I say, I didn't do it to try to bash my builder, you know, or nothing like that. And I sure didn't expect anybody else to really want to do it, get on there and do that, because you know, me and the guy that built that saw for me, we're pretty good buddies, or I consider us to be really good friends. And you know, I've been promoting his work from day one on my channel, and I stand behind that because I think he does do good work. He did what I asked for him to do on this saw, is what I'm saying. Nothing, you know. So, yeah, could it be the carb slowing that down? Yeah, it could be, but either way, it still runs better than 372X torque, for sure. So, you know, Kit saw is I think the kit saw has more torque. Honestly, I could lean on it a whole lot harder, and that's what he built it more towards. Is I like to lean on saws, even though you may not see it, you know, in the video. It's hard to tell how hard somebody's leaning on a saw. You know, you can lean on a saw so much it actually slows it down. So, you know, I'm gonna get that 400C and just in this piece and compare it real quick. But you can lean on any saw and make it bog down. You see me just kill that one out. And sometimes they get hung up if the chain don't get spinning fast enough before you stick it to the deal. So, and I'm not trying to justify anything, I'm just saying. Me sitting here running the these two saws, the kit saw has more torque. It felt more powerful. Now, is it as fast? I don't know, but it does have more torque. I do know that. I do. 2-foot bar, that had the Stihl RS chain on it. This has got Stihl RS chain on it, just like filed by me, both of them. So, you know, there you go. The kit saw runs as good, not better than 372, and hangs with that one. And I've got like 250 bucks in it or something, so you know, 300 bucks, whatever it is. So there you go. But that one wasn't bad either. The Husqvarna Pro. I really like those saws. I may give me a 660 one to keep for myself, because if I had a crew, you know, like guys working for me, and I didn't want to spend big money on Stihl, Husqvarna, or Echo, I'd buy those for them to use, just for a throw around saw. I haven't cut a ton with that, but I'm telling you, the plastics, the trigger assembly, and everything is 10 to 1 better than the kit saws, and I'm sure better than the blue saws. That right there, as far as the way the plastics fit, the trigger assembly, the way it feels, the clutch cover, if it was orange and had Husqvarna on it, you'd never be able to tell an OEM one apart. Them are really impressive saws for the money. And I don't know about the internals, like as far as I mean, even the chain tensioner is better on this model. Trigger assembly's better. The pull starter cover seems to be better made plastic. It's a really good saw. So honestly, from what I've cut with it, I haven't run just terribly a lot, you know, maybe 3 to 4 tanks through it just playing out here. But I would use it to fall timber with, if I had to. If I was hard up for a saw and didn't have, you know, a lot of money, or just could afford to get, spend $400 or $500, I'd buy one of them all day long. So anyway, there you go. That's what we got. I'm gonna shut this off because I've rolled on into dang near 40 minutes. And like I say, I appreciate everybody. You'll have to look at the times and everything because I'm not editing this. And see, so thanks. We're still at 446. We're about 54 away from the first giveaway. So if you like what you're seeing, like, subscribe, and hit the bell, and you'll be entered in a chance to win one of the Echo 590s.